in here, and then I'll start the music. And come on, come up, come up. I don't see us on LinkedIn yet. Coming, 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 coming. And in a second, we'll be on. There we go. Sherry, wave hello. Okay, here we go. Time for the music. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it.
So you wanna be a cool kid, hanging with an ink set, looking real cool and fine, casting your thinking net. So you wanna be.
Welcome to Two Saucy Dames. It's Bonnie D and Sherry M. How are you, Sherry?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Bonnie?
I'm good. LinkedIn keeps freezing on me. I know we're streaming. I just want to make sure. Do you see it too? It's just kind of sitting there.
I
Anyway,
didn't even dial in on LinkedIn to see if it was working. I'm
there you
trusting you.
go. Yeah, well, it just keeps blacking out, but I'm sure we're there. It says, well, there we are. Okay, sees me in my frustration. Sherry, I'm trying to be extra saucy today. Do you like the colors?
I do. I was going to mention that before when we first got on. Like, what is with the red? I mean,
I don't know.
what?
It's a little something that you throw over a dress and it's sparkly. And I just decided it was time for, and a pink flower. I'm usually with a
Yeah.
red flower. So let's do a little introduction. I'm Bonnie D. This is Sherry M. We're colleagues. We're friends. We're two TOO saucy dames. There's no such thing as just a saucy dame. We believe you have to be too saucy. We're TWOTOO,
Or
and
you
that's
can
the
never
way.
be too saucy.
I didn't think so. So I need you a little bit, tiny bit louder, Sherry. So, Sherry, in case this is episode number 8, just in case there are 5 people in the world who haven't seen us and don't know who you are, tisk, tisk, why don't you tell them who you are and then we'll get started?
Oh, hi. I'm Sherry Ann Meyer, and I'm an HR tech enthusiast. I'm also a mom, a daughter, all those other things that we women do, all the other hats that we juggle. I'm an executive leader right now working with Rising and Wipro. And I like to think of myself as a connector because I like to hear other people's ideas all the time and connect ideas one person to another. Oh, you know who's interested in that? You should talk to that kind of thing. So,
I like
me.
that. A connector. You haven't used that in your bio before, have you?
Yeah, I've always I've done it, but it didn't seem that important. But recently, Bonnie, several people from my past that I've worked on connecting through groups have pointed out to me that they found that so valuable. Somebody said, you bring people together, you held
Mhm.
us together. And I think I don't know, it's a nice epitaph.
Well, it's a nice living taft too. Let's stay in the present here. If anybody, you think anybody doesn't know me by now, Sherry, with 55 radio series? Do you think it's possible?
Well, yeah, if they're new to radio series.
That's true. Somebody told me they appreciated my fast quips on my technology revolution show. I said
I always do too.
nobody's ever said that to me before. I was very
This
honored.
technology usually isn't funny.
Well, I know, and we are daring to be here on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, and we're having fun. And this is not a deep business show. My LinkedIn stream just keeps freezing, but I think we're there. So I'm a live radio and podcast if you consider that the shows are recorded and replayed, so they become a podcast. Creator, producer, host. I'm a storyteller. Hello, a playwright. 3 romantic comedy plays. I'm an artist. 300 pictures in. Oh, what do we have? Watercolors and paint pouring and collages and glitter and all kinds of stuff. I'm a drummer, red sticks, red boots, red Ludwig, and zildjian cymbals. I'm a poet. I belong to the Writer's Digest Wednesday prompt group, and I write 3 poems every week, a limerick, a double or triple haiku, 575, if you know what I mean, and an acrostic with the topic from the prompt. I'm a creator of the 3-minute soundbite roundtable thought leadership, which I started in 2011 for SAP, where we don't sell, we just talk about technology. I'm an early woman in tech, COBOL, Xerox Sigma 6 CP5. Amazing, I can still remember it. I have my COBOL handbook and I have green bar paper. Oh my goodness, I was great at core dumps. And yes, and key punching. Oh my, I'm a former stand-up comic. And Sherry, I try to just be funny sitting down now.
What
So
do
what do
you
you think?
mean former stand-up comic?
Well, I had my own stand-up troupe. We used to
Well,
perform in Borders bookstores
that's
and
former.
libraries.
You're still funny. You're still
But
funny.
but now I don't stand up. I sit down. That's the difference.
Okay.
I'm
So
a
now
sit
you're a
down.
sit-down comic.
A sit down comic. That's right. I'm a sit down or a sit back comic, not a laid back comic. Okay, so Sherry, today we have three topics, maybe four. I have a triple question for
Me.
you. Answer one or any of them or all, up to you.
Okay.
If I was having a really good day on the market, really good day, and I gave you a gift of $10 million with no strings and no tax to me or you attached, wouldn't that be lovely? To launch a new business, what would you name it? Or if you won $10 million in the lottery this weekend, of course, it'd be tax. What would you do with it? Or if you woke up to 2,000 unread emails, wow, and you could only answer 100, how would you choose them? So, which question do you want to answer, Sherry?
Okay, first, Bonnie, for the win, I'm going to go with the 2000 unread emails because that happens to me daily. And what I do is first you delete the junk, then you ignore the people whose names you don't recognize, and then you read the rest. So I better know you if you're writing to me. But I also like the lottery. I want that $10 million. Can I have it?
If you want it, it's yours. I have nothing to do with
Oh,
it. It was
oh,
just
I'm
it was
just gonna, okay,
hypothetical.
it's not, this isn't from you. This is from the lottery. Okay.
Yeah, lottery.
Yeah, I would buy a farmland, to put my commune on. Now, when I say commune, I want to explain that friends of mine and my children we've often talked about just all living on one property together, separate houses.
Mm-hmm.
It's so convenient because the kids get off the bus. There's always someone there to meet the kids. You always have company. You can borrow a cup of sugar from someone. You don't each need your own backyard pool. You have one that you share together. And we just thought that would be really lovely. And if you want a small house, a tiny house, you can want a big house, you can have that. So I would do that. I would fund that.
And okay, and the last one, if I gave you 10 million for a new business, what would it be?
Okay, I've had this idea for a business for a while, so don't take my idea.
I won't tell anybody.
I would, I'm very much a homebody. Like I don't want to be on the road traveling or anything. I've always wanted to start something that was, the business would be called Toast. My daughter and I have talked about this. It'd be a little house cottage and it would be like a coffee shop in the morning, but at night it would be open for celebrations and champagne toasts for something else. And the whole key around it would be offering musicians a place to play,
Oh,
perform, and we would bring the audience. And maybe in the morning you have just acoustic music, and in the evenings you have something a little more rowdy, but a gathering place.
very
People can
nice.
connect.
Do you want me to answer the same question, Sherry?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, now I'm in trouble. I wrote the questions, I didn't answer them. Okay, emails. What I would do is if I get several hundred a day. What I would do is sort them by sender first, and I would look and see. I keep a lot of emails coming in that I should unsubscribe from, but once in a while they're little tidbits, nuggets of headlines, interesting news, and they don't annoy me, so I don't unsubscribe. So I would collect all of the interesting news ones and the nice news and the Bill Murphy Jr. and I love his big optimism newsletter. And I would sort those. I'd say, what do I really need to know right now? And that might take a couple of hundred. Then I would look for the senders and I would look for anything that was the most current. If you sent me 15 emails, I would look for the one with the most recent send date and assume that you had built a thought up over time. And that's what I would do. So I would probably be able to get it down to about 15 or 20 that I would absolutely want to read.
See,
If I
this
was
explains why you get so much done in a day.
well,
Right there.
I just booked 43 guests for my Monday night Read My Lips creativity radio show, and those emails are pouring in with confirmation and then with their deliverables, their jot forms. So when I recognize their names from my list, those go to the top of the pile of what I pay attention
Okay.
to. And I respond very quickly. And I say, thank you. This is great. I want to be welcoming. So that's what I would do. $10 million for a business. This is going to sound interesting, but I probably would create a live streaming channel that was live during most of the day. And I would
Like
create,
an old-fashioned radio.
yes, and I would create pockets of topics. So, and I would have trusted people I know who've already been on my shows or who are referred by people on my shows to be either calling in or having set up some kind of pre-deliverable, so I knew to expect them and I would feature them. I wouldn't have a 1 hour limit, but it could go as long as 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it was. But I would do this 5 days a week, maybe on Saturday also. I don't know. I'm just floating this around. And I would make it available for people to talk and talk and talk. No politics, no doom and gloom, no addiction, abuse, disease, but positive topics. And I would probably ask Bill Murphy Jr. to be on my show and talk about why he named his newsletter Big Optimism. That might be something I could do with him on
That'd
the
be cool.
Optimism show. So it would be the Optimism channel.
Oh, I
That's what
like
I
that.
yeah, and I would have different backgrounds for different, or just be one background. It could be Big Optimism behind me, and then people
Yeah.
could join in, but I would schedule the guests for their drop-in time and count on them to show up. I wouldn't sit there and just talk, talk, talk by myself for an hour or two or
Although
three.
you could.
I know, but I don't want to. And then let's see, $10 million in the lottery. So I addressed the business and the that was the business. $10 million in the lottery. I would probably hire somebody to teach me how to play. I would get a bigger piece of property and I would hire somebody to plant a specimen garden. I love the mature trees and the plants I have here.
Cool.
Interestingly enough, the people across the street have wild zinnias, Sherry, and the seeds blew across the street. And unbeknownst to me, there were only 4 or 5 zinnia plants among my tomatoes that I planted last year on the side of the house against a trellis. Okay. This year, this spring, I have zinnias that are up to 4 feet tall.
Whoa.
There must be 200 of them in every color of the rainbow. They are tangled, and the tomato plants regrew from last year's plants. I didn't pull them out of the ground. So I have the little midnight snack. They have a black skin on them. And then as they ripen, the black turns red or orange. And you can pick them when they're not quite red or orange. So I've got tomatoes interspersed with a tangle. It's like a jungle that's about 3 to 5.5 feet tall against the side of the house on one trellis.
Wow. You just sent me a picture of that. That sounds
I
amazing.
will. Natural growing. I have a background I can show you later. And anyway, so I have a magnolia tree that didn't have a lot of blooms, but it's beautiful. I have two hibiscus trees that one of them grows 6 feet tall. The other one lays on the ground and the blooms are about 8 inches in diameter.
Oh my
I
God.
have crepe myrtles that are just my driveway's covered with pink blossoms. I have a rose bush somebody gave me that's now 3.5 feet tall with pink. It's different color roses. So I would want to have, but I would want a gardener
Oh,
on the property
yeah. I
to either
agree.
teach me, but I don't want to be a full-time gardener, but I want to enjoy them and I want to be able to set up photography outside to take pictures of the seasons. I don't know, that sounds silly with $10 million. I would also give my children something for their future, whatever they needed, I would share.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I might also my new landscaper, Jenny, wants to start a charity in honor of her grandmother, and the charity would give people who don't have money for landscaping and for proper weeding and soil care, with contributions of plants, starter plants from a local hardware store where people would donate money. She would buy the plants and then plant them for free. I would probably want to join with her on a beautification project that I would fund with the money. Yeah. How does that sound?
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I thought about that. Okay, let's move to Saucy, Saucy, Saucy. Do you have any favorite female characters in TV shows? And you know, all of my favorite shows are not English speaking,
I
French
know I
and
won't know anyone you bring up, but I grew up watching Mary Tyler Moore on Dick Van Dyke and then on the Mary Tyler Moore show, and I just love her to death, her characters, but especially on the newer Mary Tyler Moore show, she was always like sort of uncertain, which we all are, but she would pull her shoulders back and she would pursue and push. She was, ahead of her time that way. Yeah, I liked her a lot.
anybody else?
Um, yeah, there's a lot, but now you're putting me on the spot.
Like New Girl? Remember New Girl? Jess and New Girl? Wasn't that
No,
Zoe? What was her last name?
I never watched that.
Never watched that. Okay. Well, Mary Tyler Moore, that would be great.
Sally Field, love Sally Field to death. Personally, her personal life and triumphs, as well as her acting from The Flying Nun all the way through, being a strong woman and working in a union. I think she's been marvelous.
powerful.
Yeah.
Mine are Candice, spelled Candace, Candice Renoir, just like the artist. I'm watching now the ninth season. It's in French. She is a detective cop who took off 4 years to raise twins and an older daughter and an older son. And go through several marriages. And she came back to the police force. She always wears a very interesting designer pink purse that she slings over her shoulder and wears the most saucy, incredible clothes you've ever seen. No police gear for her. And she is an interesting character, and she has a way of seeing things the other police don't see. Now, there's a commissioner above her now in the latest season who is a woman who does not like Candace and tries to get her. They took away her badge, gave her a desk job, but she keeps finding ways to infiltrate investigations and solve them, but they won't give her credit. She is a saucy dame. She's gorgeous. Her real name, her actress name is Cécile Bois, Bois, like woods in French is Le Bois, Bois. And she's stunning, and she's blonde and fluffy, and I'd say she's probably in her late 40s, early 50s. She's a real woman and very interesting character. And the character is strong. The other one I recently watched, I binged. It was only four. Excuse me, I get all choked up. 4 episodes. Limited series called Fosca, Fosca. And she's Italian. She's a detective, and she rides a horse for fun. She owns a stable
Hmm.
and fields, and she solves crimes. And I was very taken with her. Two
Now,
seasons.
what streaming channel are you watching these
I
on?
think they're on I have Prime with 12 channels inside of Prime.
Yeah.
I think Candice is on Acorn, which is a surprise to me. Acorn TV. And Fosca, Fosca, is on MHZ, I believe. And another one that's a little darker is Alice Nevers, Nevers, and she's an investigating judge. Now, in these shows, a judge is like a detective. They go out on the crime calls. They are there with the cops and the detectives, but they're called
On
the
the front
investigating
lines.
front
Yeah.
lines. Absolutely. And Candice, what's his name? Alice, and they all have an interesting person they work with who is their romantic interest in and out of, accidents and amnesia and changes in staff and all that. But Alice Nevers is a little bit darker. There are some very serious, the crimes are a little heavier, and sometimes I have to fast forward because I don't want to see them. But she investigates, and she's got all kinds of sideline things that happen to her, with her, for her, by her, and it's a little bit darker, but Candice Renoir is just my absolute favorite. So that's a saucy dame.
Well, I can't listen to them in French. If they are, dubbed, or they have, translated captions on it, then I can watch it.
I watch the subtitles. And the reason I
Okay.
like that, Cherry, is because I have to pay attention because I can't go be doing
Right.
something in the other room. I do understand French very well, and I love to hear the accents. And I love to, sometimes I'll stop and I'll replay and I'll say, yes, they said, what a shame, quel dommage. I remember that from my French days. So I use it as a language booster, almost as a tutorial. But Candice is a real too saucy dame. Absolutely. So if anybody is interested, find her on
What's the name
Acorn.
now? What's the name of Candice's show?
Candice Renoir, Renoir, just like the artist.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Candice Renoir. Yes. Okay, let's go to wacky headlines. You first. I'm going to take a sip of water here. What you got?
Did you see recently that the Oscar Wiener mobile flipped over, crashed on a Chicago highway?
No.
Yeah, the dog rolled on its side. But don't worry, the hot doggers were okay. Do you remember when I read that? And there's a cute picture of it too. Do you remember Mr. Peanut Man?
Yes.
Yeah, when I was little, like that was the thing. You would go down to the shore and walk on the boardwalk, and if you saw Mr. Peanut Man, that just made your day.
Oh my God.
He's
I didn't know they had a
gone. Do you
character
know
on
that they killed him off? Yeah, in 2020, there was a commercial that killed him off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad.
Interesting. It's very
Sad.
sad. By the way, we are streaming very well. I'm watching the encoder now. So LinkedIn, do it. And we're on YouTube too. Okay. I have a
Here's
headline.
one. I got one other
Yeah,
one.
go ahead. Go ahead.
The latest in Who Needs a Man.
Oh, be still my heart. Go ahead.
There's a stingray that got pregnant without a male companion.
Are we talking a stingray car or a stingray eel?
No, a stingray, a mammal.
Yeah. Okay.
It had no male with her for 8 years, and they found she was pregnant. Now, She has since died, unfortunately. This is a real thing. This parthenogenesis is the ability to reproduce without a male. But it apparently is very, very rare and usually is like insects. It's not usually mammals, but she had the ability, but she died. So I think the message there is don't fight Mother Nature.
Or Father Time.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, mine are boring compared to yours. I have three here. One is the world's longest burning light bulb has been on since 1901. Did you know that, Sherry?
Oh, no, I didn't see
Yes.
that.
Let me read a little bit. Technology such as LED lighting has made light bulbs last longer than ever. We know how
Yeah.
often we change out, but no modern bulb even comes close to the incandescent Centennial light, capital C, capital N, which has been glowing inside a San Francisco Bay fire station since 1901. It shines 24 hours a day. It has taken a few breaks here or there for power outages, renovations, and venue changes. It was first installed in a cart house, which is when fire hoses traveled on carts, not trucks, but moved to the firehouse nearby soon after. In 1903, it moved to a newly built station. It stayed there until 1976 when it moved to its present home in Livermore, California. At that point, the bulb had been operational for 75 years.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Like, what's special about this bulb?
Let
What's
me see. It got a police and fire truck escort for the journey, which was less than 2 miles. Its survival boils down to good craftsmanship. The thick glass
oh
was
well.
hand blown. Listen to this. The bulb has a thick, durable carbon filament, unlike the thin tungsten filaments that
Mhm.
we know. It has been mounted by hand on a sturdy brass base. It's filled with nitrogen gas, gentler than argon and krypton gas used in later incandescents. Interesting. The
Ah.
second longest burning bulb is in Fort Worth, Texas, made by the same company, Shelby Electric. The
Whatever happened to Shelby Electric? Are they still in
I
business?
don't know. The Centennial bulb was hooked up to its own power source in 1976 and only lost power once since then for under 10 hours. Leaving it on 24/7 has contributed to its longevity, since turning a bulb on and off frequently can damage the. They say that about computers. The more often you turn them on and off, I don't know about. I never turn mine off. The bulb now burns at a steady 4 watts, much lower than its original 60. What do you think of that? I know. All right, second headline. This is AI. Might upset some people. A
Here we
Japanese a Japanese supermarket uses AI to evaluate staff performance in the form of smiles. The Japanese supermarket chain Aeon, AEON, implemented an AI system called Mr. Smile. Not Ms. Smile, Sherry, not Mrs.
Of
Smile,
course
not
not.
Mr. Smile. It evaluates and standardizes the smile and speech tones of its customer-facing employees, sparking a discussion on workplace norms and potential harassment. Innovative AI implementation. It's the first company globally to use AI to gauge the attitudes of its staff across 240 stores. It measures over 450 elements, including facial expressions and voice tones, with gamified elements to encourage the staff to improve their scores. And it has raised concerns about potential customer harassment and the ethical, here we go with guardrails, implications of forcing employees to standardize their emotional expressions. Interestingly enough, balancing customer satisfaction and the emotional well being of employees. Very, very interesting. I know that I read on another show last week, there's an AI that will tone down an angry customer on the phone by changing the words before the employee, frontline employee, hears the anger and even cut off the conversation. They don't want customers to emotionally abuse their workers. What do you think of that? What do you think about Mr. Smile?
Boy, I could have used that in my past careers so often. So often. But with Japan is ahead of stuff like that. Weren't they? They were also the country that several, geez, this was a while ago, maybe even before COVID. They had the first hotel that was totally person free. You check in on a computer and everything else, you never saw a person in the hotel. I don't, I don't know. Were there maids or people that delivered room service? I don't know, but it was total self-service hotel.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed to the Mr. Smile, but I see it a slightly different way. How often, Sherry, honestly, do you walk into a store where the person, there's nobody to help you with anything in the store? I'm talking a department store, brick and mortar, of course, where there's nobody to help you if you're looking for something, where you have to search if there's not a price on something. How often do you see employees seriously on the phone on a personal call at the checkout line somewhere? How often do you see them conversing in little groups about what they did last night or where they're going on the company picnic, and they're not paying any attention? I've always said that if you work in a customer facing position, I hope I don't get any hate mail for this, in a store, regardless of what you're paid or how you're treated, you are the front facing
On,
icon,
you are the
the
business.
brand. You're the brand. And
Mhm.
if you don't give a you know what about your job and you're nasty or miserable or unpleasant to customers, you represent that company. You took the job. That's part of the job. And if you could get people to smile or at least look interested while they're working, I think that would be an improvement for a lot of brands. That would make stores
There's a
more
lot
friendly.
of
What
unhappy people out there today. It would
I
100%
know.
be an improvement, but I think back to when I was growing up, there was this department store here called Hess's, and it was owned by a man, like, it wasn't a big conglomerate yet at the time. And he demanded that all his workers had to wear black, so you knew who they were, and they had to provide excellent customer service. It was such a luxury to go shopping there because you were treated so nicely. And we just don't have that anymore. I think that was a time when people really appreciated having a job. And today it feels like people
Mhm.
aren't proud of their work, and they don't feel like they're paid enough. And there's a lot of other issues and problems and like a lot of distractions. I mean, you never
Yep.
would have had a cell phone on the
Oh,
floor.
no, never. Did you watch the TV show Selfridge with
Yeah.
Jeremy? I can't remember his last name. The actor. I had quite a crush on him at the time. It's about one of the first department stores in England, in London, I believe.
Oh, I
And
have to watch that.
oh, you have to. And their sales, a lot of drama, of course, a lot of interpersonal, but their salespeople, mostly women, were trained in, they wore gloves, they had makeup
Yeah.
on, they dressed a certain way. They were trained in how to engage, approach, treat a customer, encourage sales, be helpful with information, show them what they wanted to see. They were selling gloves and perfume and clothes and all that. But it was fascinating that the store was very aware that the employees were the brand and they had to adhere to that. And I think that's
There was no
important.
better advertising years ago, really.
Absolutely. So I'm always disappointed if I go to a store, which I don't do very much anymore, and there's nobody to help. Now, when I moved to Durham, North Carolina, was it there or was it here? Yeah, it was Durham. Shock and amazement. I would go to a Harris Teeter store locally, brand new store. And if I was looking for something, where is the such and such detergent or where would I find this? And the store was massive. I would ask an employee, and if they weren't the one selling the pizza to go or whatever immediately, they would say, follow me. And they would lead me to the other part of the store where that item was, and they would show it to me on the shelf.
Whole Foods always did that.
Shock and amazement.
I think they still do it. Yeah, because that's somebody who they're trained to make you want to be in the store and make everything as hassle-free as possible.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that
me
a lot.
too.
I only go to the
It's a personal
supermarket.
interaction. How many of those do we have these days?
I have a friendly supermarket here, Food Lion, and I'm in Tellico Village. Full disclaimer, in Loudon, Tennessee, and we have one supermarket about 3 miles from my house, and it's lovely and they're friendly. I asked the manager, one of the managers, Tracy, in November, if she would help me find a 14-pound good quality frozen turkey because it was just me and two people, two family members for Thanksgiving. And I gave her my name. I said, call me Red. And she went out of her way to find. And when I went in the store, I said, did you put one away for me? She said, I don't have to. We got a whole shipment of 13 to 15-pound turkeys. Let me take you to where they are. And she took me and showed me where they were. Now, how often does that happen, Sherry?
Not often.
Seriously. And we've become friends. And she used to live on my block, I found out.
Well, kudos to the Food Line. Shout out to the Food Line and whoever that was that got the 14-pound turkey for Bonnie. Red, AKA Red.
Sherry, it's been lovely. Any parting thoughts on Too Saucy today? Are you feeling too saucy today? We are live streaming and I'm really loving watching us
Bonnie,
smiling.
I have been feeling too saucy for several weeks now, and we don't want to go into that.
I would like to feel too saucy again. Maybe we should talk. Anyway,
So
Sherry,
we'll
it's
keep
always
talking.
always, we will. Okay. And I will see you maybe next week. And I wish you all the best. And let me play and by the way, the outro music is So You Want to Be. I own the website, soyouwanntobe.net for about 12 years and never did anything with it. And I wrote the lyrics. It's about a teenage girl who's trying to pretend to do too much. And would she just take off the mask of the phoniness and so you want to be herself, because that's fine. And my good friend and colleague, the very talented digital music designer, not AI, he's a real person, a real musician,
Yep.
but he designs digital music, Serge Hoffman, with two N's at the end of Hoffman in Paris, who designs, he's written music and produced music for Cirque du Soleil and for big companies, and he works with orchestras and
Let's
chamber
have
music.
him on sometimes. We can talk.
Well, let's see now. If they're 6 hours ahead, it would be six. I might be able to get him on Two Saucy Dames
It'll
plus
be fun.
Surge. You know what that would be? And he sang this and he did a sample, he sang it and he did the music. So I'm going to go out with this. Let's play this and then we will say goodbye and I'll see you next week. So let's do this before
Sounds
we
great.
go. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can.
So you wanna be a cool kid.
There we go.
Yes.
Hanging with a
Lots of controls.
set.
So you want to be.
Looking real pure and fine. Asking you
It's my favorite part.
So you wanna be
Here we go.
lonely girl,
A little more.
trying too hard. Ways you really smile.
The next break will go.
Be
Thank you, Sherry. It's always fun.
Yes,
You
it is.
refresh me. You refresh me.
Likewise.
Thank you.
you for a while. So you wanna be a cool kid.
So you want to be a cool kid. We don't want to be cool kids. We want to be two saucy dames. Sherry Ann Meyer. Lovely to see you. I'm going to say goodbye. Let's wave goodbye to our streaming.